A young literature teacher named Claire starts her job at a school. She quickly befriends another teacher, Catherine. After her first day, Claire visits the supermarket to buy groceries and ends up stealing a red lipstick. Later that evening, she shares this with her husband, Nate, who asks her why she did it. Claire explains that she goes to the store daily and wanted to treat herself. Nate doesn't criticize her and simply goes to bed. The couple has been trying to have a child for a while but has not succeeded. Claire feels there are issues in their family life, but Nate did not pay attention to this. The next morning, Claire arrives at school and meets her students, teaching her first class to older students. Some boys notice her low-cut sweater. After school, a student named Eric visits the principal to ask about college and scholarships. The principal tells him he has time, but needs to score 1,200 points on his tests. Eric feels discouraged, knowing it will be tough. During practice, he and his friends spot a woman in the parking lot, and Eric tells Matt that she is their new teacher.
Honestly, she could tell me to do whatever she wants.
After practice, they go to Matt's house to talk about girls. Eric recently broke up with Allison, and Matt mentions he likes a girl who is Josh's sister. Claire's husband works late, leaving her bored, so she heads to a bar. Eric works at this bar, and his friends pressure him to smoke and make milkshakes. They see Claire there, and Matt decides to approach her. He tries to be funny, but ends up looking foolish. Matt calls his mom to pick him up, and Josh leaves too, without finishing his milkshake. Eric finds himself alone and feels awkward standing next to his teacher. As they talk, Claire realizes Eric is quite intelligent and asks about his future plans. He shares that he wants to go to college, but is struggling with his school tests. Eric asks Claire if she can help him. He wants her to be his tutor, and Claire agrees. They chat a bit more, and Eric sees that Claire is a smart, modern woman with a good sense of humor. After leaving the cafe, Eric asks Claire for a ride home. She plays a cool song in the car, and Eric thinks about how awesome his teacher is. Claire mentions her brother works in the police. She drives Eric home, and they say their goodbyes before she heads back. Over the weekend, Eric attends a party at Matt's house. He reconciles with his ex-girlfriend, and they go upstairs for some privacy, but they don't have enough time to do what they intended. Suddenly, the police show up. Eric tells Matt that this will ruin his chances of getting into college. He pleads with the officer not to file a report, fearing it will destroy his future, but the officer reminds him to think before acting foolishly. Eric notices the officer's badge has a familiar name. He realizes it's Claire's brother.
Don't make this difficult, all right?
No, Miss Wilson. She told me about you.
And asks if he can call her to take him home. Eric lives with his mother, who works at night and will not be able to come. Claire shows up and asks her brother to forgive Eric for the first time. She drives him home and tells him he made a foolish mistake. Eric says he's sorry and promises not to do it again. Claire requests that he not call her by her last name when they are outside of school. The following weekend, Claire visits Eric's house because he didn't pick up the phone. She proposes to cancel their plans and go for a walk instead. Eric sends his brothers to a neighbor's place and follows Claire. She takes him to the college he wants to attend to inspire him. Eric apologizes to Claire once more for what happened. Soon, they run into Eric's friend, who invites them to a party. Claire tells Eric she has never been to such parties because she focused only on her studies when she was a student. She encourages Eric not to miss out on being young. Later, Claire goes home and sees her husband, Nate, who has bought new musical instruments and wants to start a rock band. Claire is upset with him for spending their money without discussing it first. In the evening, Eric finds Claire on Facebook and sends her a friend request, but she does not accept it. The next day, Eric arrives at school to speak with his teacher. He approaches Claire and kisses her.
Doing?
That night, Eric has an amazing dream and wakes up realizing he has fallen in love with her. Claire learns that to get pregnant, she needs to have artificial insemination. Nate offers to help her with this soon, but Claire is unsure about having a child with him. At school, Eric apologizes to Claire for his actions and pleads with her to keep teaching him literature. He promises not to repeat his mistake. Claire agrees to continue as his tutor. Later, she sees Eric asking another girl to the prom, which makes her feel jealous. On her day off, Claire goes to a cafe to wait for Eric, but he decides not to show up. That evening, Eric attends a party with Allison. Matt arrives with his friend's sister and keeps suggesting they go to a hotel, which annoys her, and she leaves. Claire asks Eric why he didn't come to class. He explains that he can't be around her because he constantly thinks about her. He believes it's best for them to stop seeing each other to avoid any issues. He heads back to the party and Claire follows him inside. She looks at him and silently invites him to join her. Claire leaves the school and gets into her car with Eric following her. She drives to a quiet spot and stops.
We don't have to do this if you don't want to.
Eric climbs into the back seat while Claire sits beside him. He knows he will remember this night forever. Later, Eric returns home feeling happy after spending the night with Claire. Claire feels no regrets either. The next morning, she receives a text from Eric. She reads it and quickly deletes it. After class, Claire asks Eric to meet again at the same spot. When Eric arrives, he likes a photo of Claire. She notices and warns him that he shouldn't do that because her husband might find out. Eric apologizes, and they focus on their plans. Eric and Claire start spending time together almost daily. Eric finds himself falling for his teacher. Eric realizes he doesn't want to be just a plaything for Claire. He wants something deeper. That evening, his mom asks him to watch his younger brothers while she goes out. However, Claire sends him lovely photos and urges him to meet immediately. He asks a neighbor to look after his brothers and goes out with Claire. Once in the car, Claire tries to get close, but Eric stops her. He tells her he doesn't want to be just a toy and confesses his feelings, wanting to know she won't forget him the next day.
I like you too.
Eric is happy with her response. Later that night, he returns home to find his mother upset because he left his brothers alone. One of them got hurt, and Eric realizes he made a mistake. With his birthday approaching, Claire has rented a small house for the weekend. Eric records a video of Claire to remember the moment. They feel like a real family together, but Claire asks him to delete the video so no one else can see it. In the evening, Eric prepares a tasty dinner that surprises Claire. She shares that her mother passed away when she was young, and she grew up with her father, who drank heavily. Claire hates him for that. The next morning, they wake up together for the first time, but Claire gets a call from her husband. Eric is unhappy that Claire hasn't left him yet, and she faces consequences for the call.
Take your underwear off.
During the day, Claire tries smoking for the first time. Later, she tells Eric that he has an exciting college life ahead of him. She expresses envy for his future and encourages him to enjoy it fully. She mentions that once he no longer needs her, he will find many beautiful girls. This conversation bothers Eric, and he asks why she would say such things. Claire believes Eric will soon leave her because of her age. She doubts their relationship will last, but Eric insists he doesn't want anyone else and wants to be with her. He confesses his love. They end the day in bed together, and the next day they return to the city. Eric's mom wishes him a happy birthday. Meanwhile, Claire goes to her husband's concert at a bar with a friend. Catherine notices that Claire is cheating on her husband, but doesn't judge her. She sees how happy Claire has been and asks, who makes her so joyful? Claire decides to be honest. She reveals it's Eric, which Catherine sees as a serious betrayal. Catherine is shocked and tells Claire she must inform the director. Claire pleads with her not to do that. She argues that she and Eric are happy and that he is an adult, but Catherine leaves. Claire realizes that the next day will be incredibly difficult. When she gets home, she tells her husband everything. To view the next segment of the video, please subscribe.